The day my parents handed my sister the keys to my house was the day I realized they had never really believed it was mine. I remember the sound first, the small, metallic jingle, soft but sharp enough to cut through the room. Keys don't usually sound like betrayal, but that day they did. They rang like a verdict being passed without my consent. We were standing in my parents' living room, the same one with the faded beige carpet and the long coffee table my father built when I was in high school. The windows were open just enough to let in the smell of jasmine from my mother's garden. My sister stood near the sofa, arms folded loosely, her mouth curved into a polite, patient smile, the kind she used when she already knew the ending of the story. My mother placed the keys into her palm like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Just in case," she said gently. "You never know." I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger. Not yet. Something heavier. Something like recognition. They didn't know. None of them knew. And I didn't stop them. I didn't say, "That house isn't mine anymore." I didn't say, "I sold it 2 weeks ago." I just watched the keys disappear into my sister's purse, and in that moment, I understood how long this had been happening, how many quiet decisions about my life had been made without me. Before all of that, my life was simple in the way that takes years to build and seconds to dismantle. I was 43 years old, and living alone in the house I bought with my own hands and my own patience. It wasn't grand. A modest 3-bedroom place at the edge of town, with peeling white paint on the porch railing and a kitchen that always smelled faintly of coffee grounds and lemon cleaner. But it was mine. I worked as a senior project coordinator at a regional construction firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid steadily. I liked order, timelines, knowing what came next. Maybe that's why I loved that house so much. It stood where I put it in my life. Solid, predictable. My parents lived 15 minutes away, close enough to drop by unannounced, which they did often. My mother would bring leftovers wrapped in foil. My father would sit at my table and comment on the way I arranged my books, as if he were still responsible for shaping me. And then there was my sister, Lena. Lena was younger by 3 years, though people always thought she was older. She carried herself with that kind of confidence that comes from knowing someone will catch you if you fall. She had 2 kids, a husband who drifted in and out of jobs, and a way of presenting chaos as charm. Growing up, Lena had been the sparkler to my steady flame. She was loud where I was quiet, impulsive where I was careful. And somehow, the world always seemed to bend to soften her landings. My parents loved us both. I know they did. But love doesn't always arrive equally. Sometimes it arrives with conditions. Sometimes it arrives with assumptions. I was the responsible one. The one who didn't need help. The one who would understand. That word followed me my entire life. You'll understand. You're stronger. Lena just needs a little more right now. I understood so much that it became expected of me. When I bought my house 8 years ago, my parents were proud, publicly. My mother told her friends at church. My father clapped me on the shoulder and said, "Good investment." But privately, there were comments. 3 bedrooms is a lot for one person. Such a big place to keep up on your own. You know, if Lena ever needed. They never finished those sentences. They didn't have to. The suggestion lingered in the air like smoke. Still, I made that house my sanctuary. I planted rosemary by the back steps. Painted one wall in the living room a deep blue that reminded me of late evenings and calm decisions. I paid the mortgage early when I could. I fixed things myself. For the first time in my life, something belonged to me without question. Or so I thought. The first sign that something was shifting came quietly. It was a Sunday afternoon when my mother asked, "Do you still have a spare key under the planter?" I paused, the phone warm against my ear. "Why?" "Oh, no reason," she said quickly. "Just thinking." Thinking had become a dangerous word. A week later, Lena mentioned, casually, "Mom says your place is closer to my kids' school than ours." I laughed it off. By maybe 4 minutes. She smiled. Still. Then there were the glances. The way my parents looked at each other when the subject of Lena's rent came up. The way my father asked, "You're still working from home most days, right?" Like he was measuring my absence. I felt it building, but I didn't name it. I told myself I was being sensitive. I had done that my whole life, swallowed discomfort, and called it maturity. 2 weeks before the keys changed hands, I signed the final paperwork. The sale was quiet.
Clean.
I had my reasons, though I hadn't told anyone yet. The market was right. I was tired of being close to everything that felt like obligation. I had plans, modest ones, but they were mine. I remember leaving the attorney's office with a manila envelope under my arm and a strange lightness in my step. The sky was pale blue, the kind that makes you believe in timing. I thought I had time to explain, to prepare them, to ease them into it. I didn't realize they were already moving pieces on a board I hadn't agreed to play. When my mother called and asked us all to come over for dinner and a little family discussion, I felt that familiar tightening in my stomach. I brought a bottle of wine. Lena brought nothing but herself. And that's when my mother reached into the drawer by the phone, pulled out a familiar set of keys, and placed them into my sister's waiting hand. Just in case, she said again, smiling like this was generosity, not trespass. I opened my mouth. Then I closed it. Because sometimes silence isn't confusion. Sometimes it's the moment before a truth decides how loudly it needs to be spoken.